This video is gonna be for demonstrating VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP functions. So both of them are lookup function in Excel that will allow you to search a table of data, and based on the user supplied value will give you an appropriate information from the table. VLOOKUP, the main difference between VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP is that VLOOKUP will allow the search in a table on a vertical fashion mode, and HLOOKUP it will do the same thing but on a horizontal. So that's the V and H from lookup. So both will have the same function. Is just VLOOKUP is looking vertically in a table, HLOOKUP is looking horizontally in a table. Both functions will have arguments, and the arguments are the same, the lookup value. So first you have to tell what is your lookup value. The second, you have to tell the function where you're going to look up for that, the table array. The third argument is a column index number, which is going to be the column that will contain the information that needs to retrieve corresponding to that value. And then a range lookup, the last argument, that it has only two values, true or false. If we set it true, the lookup function will give a closest match to the lookup value without going over the lookup value. If we set it false, it's gonna just find out the exact match, otherwise we'll return non-applicable. So to demonstrate this, I will take the example in Excel with the airline company, and what we need to do here is to find out the airline name based on the airline code. So what we have here, we have a list of bookings from the customer, and we have the airline code in C column. You can see all the codes, and then ticket sales price, the column. The column that is missing is the airline name. So you do not have a name, you have a code, and you want to find out what is the name corresponding to that airline code. So we have to use a lookup function. It could be VLOOKUP in this case scenario because I organized the table array, which is on the same worksheet on the right side of the data. Airline code and airline, if you see that table array where you have 1 to 7 the code and 1 to 7 airline names, they are organized in a vertical manner. So that's why I'll use the VLOOKUP that will look on the will look for the value. The value that I'm gonna look for is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is the airline code, and what I'm gonna retrieve is the airline name. So in order to use VLOOKUP, you can go and access Fx, which is the formula. I'm using here a Mac, and you will see slightly different, but I believe on the Windows will be exactly the same. And then you're gonna look up for VLOOKUP, and you're gonna bring it up on the screen, and you're gonna have the parameters or the arguments of a function. So lookup value, as I said, it's gonna be the airline code. What you need to pay attention, the airline code, it has to be the cell address where you find the airline code in your data and not in the table array. So lookup value is going to be C2. Where is the first one? We're just going to demonstrate for the first one. We're going to write the formula once, and we're going to copy throughout. So the lookup value is going to be C2. Then the table array, I'm just going to select where I have this table array in my Excel worksheet. So I'm going to select I3 to J10. And initially, I'm not going to make it absolute. It's just going to be relative. And then I'm going to move on to column index number. And because I want to retrieve the name of the airline company, I'm just going to count how many columns, what is the number of column in the table array that will give me that. So the first column is airline code, which is number 1. The second column is airline name, which is number 2. That's why I'm gonna add here column index number 2. Range lookup, because I want an exact value, I'm just going to set up for false. I'm going to say done, and once I click done, the value is going to be brought in the first cell where I use the formula. Now, if I want to copy this formula all over, I need to make the table array absolute, because if I'm not going to make that range, cell range absolute, then it's going to move and it's going to copy and it's going to give me errors. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back in the VLOOKUP. I'm going to make those only the table array absolute, both cells. I'm going to put $ before row, before column, and make it absolute. And then I'm going to copy all that formula down, and I'm going to get all the airline names brought it in this table. And this is to demonstrate the VLOOKUP.